Hello Internet, I am the hero of Julios once again with another Dungeons & Dragons video. This week's video is going to be a bit of a rambling video as I just kind of wanted to talk about the concept of connecting your adventures together. Currently, at the store that I DM for, I am running through the Dungeon of the Mad Mage. However, we actually started in Lost Mine of Fendelver and moved from there to Storm King's Thunder. With Storm King's Thunder ending, we moved into Dungeon of the Mad Mage, which has had some interesting connections between itself and the previous adventure. See, Wizards of the Coast gives an example of how to connect Lost Mine of Fendelver to your next adventure, and Storm King's Thunder allows you to skip the first few chapters if your players have played something else previously. But there was no connecting factor between Dungeon of the Mad Mage and Storm King's Thunder, as the Dungeon of the Mad Mage is an adventure designed to go from level 1 all the way up to 20. To ease into this, I will begin with Lost Mine of Fendelver. See, near the end of the adventure, your players have the opportunity to find a map that is pretty much blank according to the book that it actually comes in. The purpose of this map is to allow you to connect to anywhere else in the Sword Coast for whatever adventure you plan on moving your players into next. I used the map to take my players to Tribor, one of the 3 potential starting locations for the main quest of Storm King's Thunder. From there they fought some fire giants, and the rest, as they say, is history. They went all the way to the end of the adventure, defeated the final boss, and were kinda left with nothing. Connecting Lost Mine of Fendelver to Storm King's Thunder was simply the method of creating a new plot hook. Obviously, a map entices players to go into that location and find out whatever was actually buried there. It's a very easy way because, for the most part, your players are going to be driven by the promise of either treasure, lore, or some form of both. Unless your players are on a very specific quest, but in this case their quest had ended, and it was kind of just a where do we go from here. If your players didn't find that map in Lost Mine of Fendelver, you could also find a way to get them to go into the Storm King's Thunder adventure by simply having somebody come to them. The exploits of their adventuring party have reached the ears of a specific town. That town may have heard rumors of a giant nearby, and they seek, able-bodied but relatively inexpensive adventurers to come and maybe defend them for a bit. That's when the giants show up, and the plot hook once again is recommenced. But what if even the promise of money does not get your players interested in the next adventure? Well, make it a threat. Instead of waiting for the players to go where the adventure is, make the adventure come to them. So, have a giant crush the little town of Phandalin that the players have spent so much time in. Make this a revenge quest. They want to go after the giant that did this, and then they find out an even greater problem is at hand. Your players are going to be about level 5 at the end of Lost Mine of Fendelver, so one giant could be an epic clash for them, especially if it's something bigger than a hill giant. Even a stone giant could be a deadly encounter for a party of 4 or 6 adventurers of level 5. However, none of these connecting factors are actually how I got my players from Storm King's Thunder to the Dungeon of the Mad Mage. See, the simple fact of the matter is, Storm King's Thunder came to an end. A simple the end, credits roll, everyone's happy, and they wanted to keep playing with these characters. So, as the DM, as a person at the table, I asked them, what do you want to do next? And there was a couple, bounces back and forth to what everybody wanted to do, but eventually, Dungeon of the Mad Mage was brought up. It's one that I think is interesting. It's one that goes all the way up to level 20, which everybody wants to see their characters at level 20. So, in the end, we just decided to go with the Dungeon of the Mad Mage. And there's nothing wrong with that. You can just say, okay, you guys are here now. That's not what I did in story, but as far as just moving from one adventure to another, it's perfectly okay to just everyone looks at each other and says, let's just play the next one. For my party in particular, the wizard is missing his soul, so we actually had a dream sequence that told him the yawning portal is where his soul is underneath it or something like that. So they're currently going down there with the vague understanding of that's where it probably is. Whatever the method with which you use, I will say the first couple times you try to connect adventures together may feel a little clunky, may feel a little like it could be better, but that's the beauty of Dungeons and Dragons. You will improve the more you do it, and eventually you will have organic segues from every single adventure. I will say though, in my experience, when it comes from doing like actual official adventures or pre-written adventures, it's a lot harder to connect some of them than it is to just homebrew your own adventures. But that's more of a official content versus homebrew debate. Thank you for watching as always, and I will see you in the next video. This is the Hero of Julios, Xing out.